In this video, we are going to look at a method of stoichiometric calculation that involves using proportions to solve for our unknown quantities. This method is not as widely taught as dimensional analysis, but if you are able to understand the concept of the mole ratio and relating two values to each other, this is a really nice method to use because you are probably familiar with a math technique of cross multiplication. So if we want to know how many grams of ammonia are produced, when I'm using this technique, I do all of my work under whichever substance I'm trying to solve for. I write all of my given information under each substance that it describes. So since I'm trying to solve for how many grams of ammonia are produced, I'm going to go do my work over here. What I need to do is set up a proportion. So I'm going to take two ratios and relate those to each other. The way that I do this is that my top number is always going to be my mole ratio number for the substances. The item on my left is always my limiting reactant. So we always keep my limiting on the left. That way I get used to setting up the problems the same way every time, and it's just a little bit easier for me to think of that way. Top numbers are the mole ratio numbers, so the bottom numbers are going to be my moles of that substance. So I know how many moles of nitrogen I have, but I don't know how many moles of ammonia I have. This means that I'm going to assign the moles of ammonia the variable x. You guys are so used to solving for x from math class. So just as a reminder, these top numbers, those are my coefficients or my mole ratio number. And the bottom is moles. The trick to making sure that you set up your proportions correctly is to make sure that you keep the right mole ratio number with the right moles of substance. So make sure that if it's all together, and that's why I write everything in these columns, is to keep everything together. And it reminds me, I take my number on the top and I put that over my moles because I put them down below. Quick reminder about cross multiplication. When I cross multiply, I take my numerator of one proportion and multiply it by the denominator of my other proportion or other ratio, sorry. If I want to solve for x, to get x by itself, since these numbers are next to each other, that means they're multiplied together. I divide by 1. Any number divided by 1 is just itself. So 2 times 2 is 4 moles. This x, since it's with and under ammonia, means that these are the moles of ammonia that are produced by this reaction. But remember, my problem wants grams. So before I'm going to have my final answer, I need to convert these moles of ammonia into grams of ammonia. This should be review. If I want to go from moles of a substance to grams of a substance, I have to multiply by its molar mass. So chances are you will have to calculate molar masses for the substances that are in your chemical equations. So if I take 4 times 17.04, moles cancel out. All I am left with is an answer of 68.2 grams. If you want to be really thorough, you can make sure to designate these as grams of ammonia. I like this method because I just set up proportions under whatever I'm solving for. That way I can do multiple steps all from just looking at the same equation. I'm used to using cross multiplication. It's something that I've practiced so much in my math classes. It's second nature to do. And I set it up the exact same way every time. So I do really like this method, but if this method doesn't work for you, Let's look at two more examples and see if we can find one that is the right fit.